Hey comic lovers, EMoney, the Old Man, and Thor the Dog of Thunder back with you again. You see Thor getting bigger all the time, aren't you, boy? Aren't you, boy?
He's going to need a bigger throne soon.
Yeah, pretty soon.
It's ridiculous.
So we're doing a bit of a night shoot in the garage this week because Turkey Day is around the corner and schedules are a little hectic.
A little
but
bit different.
Doesn't mean we didn't want to spend time with our boy here, right? Alright, so today we are talking about some of the biggest tragedies in comic books.
It's been more than I thought.
Yeah, it is quite a list because when we started, we knew there were a few out there, but we didn't really grasp how many until we started looking and doing our research and stuff.
I mean, like, every origin story is tragic. It's
Origin stories,
crazy.
they're tragic events, tragic characters.
People
I mean,
dying right and left.
yeah, the comic books are just riddled with that sort of thing. All right, and we're going to discuss some of our favorites is a strong word, but some of the big ones here today. All right, so grab a box of tissues and cuddle up with your therapy dogs, kids. This is Back Issues. All right, comic lovers, so before we get into today's show, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, turn on your notifications, and leave us a comment. We like to know you guys are out there.
Also, if you're in Louisville, Kentucky, and you decide you need some, I don't know, I like to get trade paperbacks from them, but that's just me. Head over to Comic Book World on Old Shepherdsville Road. Great group of people. They've got a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. It's a nice place. You'll enjoy yourself.
All right, so before we get into it, I want to make clear that we're not going to talk about certain things like, for example, origin stories. You know, everybody knows about the destruction of Krypton.
And how Bruce Wayne became Batman because his parents got killed.
Ben Parker. You know, everyone knows all that stuff. We don't really need to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows what happened when Frank Castle's family got killed.
Right. So don't think we're leaving all that stuff out. And
granted, all that stuff's tragic. It's very
right,
tragic.
yes.
But it's such common knowledge that we'll go on with something else.
And also, I want to mention that, you know, if you're not up to date on your comic books, we might be spoiling some stuff for you. So,
Yeah.
you know, make sure you're up to date, be prepared.
You might want to fast forward through it once we kind of give you an idea what the subject is. If you're not prepared for that subject, I want to skip it a little bit.
Yep. So, you want to open it up, old man?
All right. I guess there's a lot of characters, and some that come to mind, obviously Batman, Spider-Man, and I'm going to use Daredevil as my first example, are just tragic by nature. I mean, Daredevil started out when he was a kid. He saw a old man crossing the street, truck speeding toward him. He risked his life, dives across the street, saves the old man, but something falls off the truck and chemicals get into his face, and he's blinded. Then not too long after that, his dad, a professional boxer, decides, nope, I'm not going to take a dive for this mafia group, and since he does it, they kill him. So now he's in an orphanage. And then later on, his girlfriend gets killed by Bullseye. And then his secretary, who there was a love interest there, becomes a drug addict. And in order to get it fixed, she sells out a secret identity that it gets to the Kingpin. And in this storyline here, the Kingpin takes Daredevil's job, his money, his home, and then leaves him battered and broken in some alley somewhere. Just absolutely destroys him. And if that's not enough, even though Matt Murdock rises above all these things, he finds out more recently that his law partner, Foggy Nelson, has got cancer. I mean, what a just ongoing mess. Typical human curls up into a fetal position with this kind of stuff going on. But that's what comic book character superheroes are made of. So, what have you got?
Well, another character who is just marred by tragedy, like seemingly at every turn, but still manages to hold on to his sense of humor, and that is Spider-Man.
Spidey.
Yeah. Of course, there's origin, fast forward. parents, Ben Parker, blah, blah, blah. We all know that stuff. But then we have marred by incidents throughout his career. One of the first big ones being Gwen Stacy. There's a bit of debate about this incident. Some people think that Green Goblin had already killed Gwen before she was thrown off the bridge. Others think that Spider-Man killed her when he spins his web to try and catch her. He catches her, wraps it around her leg, but when it gets to the end of the line and the line snaps, it also snaps her neck, killing her. And the incident is like somewhat reflected in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 film, but a lot of people have debated that panel for a long time because you don't hear her scream when she is thrown off the bridge.
She could already be dead.
Right. So there's one of the first big incidents in Spider-Man's career. Also, you've got the death of Harry Osborn. One of the more recent tragedies is in the Amazing Spider-Man number 700, where Doc Ock has found a way. Doc Ock is dying. His body is failing him, and he has managed to switch bodies with Peter Parker. And Peter Parker is in Doc Ock's dying body, and he uses the mantle of Doc Ock to try and get resources and help from other villains to try to get his body back. And you see the struggle in this issue, him fighting for his very identity, his very life. And in the last instant, you think he's about to win it. He's about to inject Doc Ock in Peter's body with the mind-swapping device that he used in the first place. But Doc Ock has one last trick up his sleeve, and the back of his neck is reinforced armor, so the device can't get through. One last trick of Doc Ock. So Peter lays dying in Doc Ock's body with Doc Ock in Peter's body, holding him. But in the last instant, somehow Peter hits him with a barrage of memories and feelings from his career as Spider-Man. And he sees and understands what it means to be Spider-Man. And instead of turning Spider-Man's reputation and making him a villain, Doc Ock vows to keep the legacy of Spider-Man going.
And to become
the superior Spider-Man. And it goes on for a while, but eventually Peter fights his way back and takes up the mantle once more.
Well, of course.
Because he's a glutton for punishment.
Absolutely.
So there's just a few small incidents in the career of Spider-Man's tragic career. And then you have, let's see. Oh, toss it over to you for your next tragedy.
Okay, well, this comic book is pretty much tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. But one particular incident really stuck with me, and it's in The Walking Dead. In issue number 48, the governor and his people have attacked the prison where Rick Grimes and his group are holding up. And our people have no choice but to run. They've got to try to escape. And people are shooting, and you see Lori with her newborn child, Judith, running through the grass trying to get away. And the governor commands a character named, I think, Lily, to shoot them. And you see the panel where Lori gets hit with a shotgun blast and it just about cuts her in half. And she falls. Unfortunately, she falls on top of the newborn child, Judith, and either crushes her or suffocates her so that they both die. Then a few pages later, there's a scene at the end of this issue where Rick and Carl managed to get out. Rick saw what happened, knew that she was dead, and he has to deal with Carl saying, "Where's Mom?" where's Mom? And it just, terrible moment, and Rick can't get the words out of his mouth. I mean, it's just rough.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no shortage of deaths in The Walking Dead,
Oh, no.
but that was one of the most graphic ones in the series. The next one, Batman, he is just a magnet for tragedy, not just from himself, but also the people around him. One of the big tragedies, early-ish in his career, was the death in the family, the death of the second Robin, Jason Todd. And in this story, Joker lures Robin into a trap in a warehouse and beats him nearly to death with a crowbar and locks him in the warehouse with explosive time to explode. And just when Robin thinks that he will be able to escape, he finds that the door has been locked, and the timer goes off, and the building explodes, and it leaves Batman to find his dead body. And that was one of the big events that shook Batman right to the core.
Oh, yeah, it was rough. Mm-hmm. Rough to say the least.
Yep. So didn't start, but one of the big events was death in the family. But the Joker's reign of terror and hurting Batman's allies didn't stop there.
No, in the one shot, The Killing Joke, which was from Alan Moore and Brian Boland. This is a comic that, to me, defines the Joker. It's my favorite Joker story. I even liked it better than the very recent Batman 3 Jokers, which is excellent. They've got it in the comic book world. Mm-hmm. Any rate, in this issue, the main tragedy is the Joker goes to Barbara Gordon's apartment, shoots her in the back, paralyzes her, and just typical Joker crap. I mean, a lot of people thought that this was some sort of exploitation of Barbara since she was a woman. I'm sorry. Joker is one of the most heinous villains in comic book history. This is something the Joker would do. I didn't find it to be any sort of exploitation. I found it to be evil, mm-hmm. which that's what we're dealing with when you mm-hmm. deal with the Joker. Barbara did survive, and she went on to become, I guess, Batman's tech geek. Mm-hmm. She became Oracle, basically his eye in the sky. It's a great story. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. I'd love to show it for you here. I thought I owned a copy, but I do not. So I'm going to have to go get a copy of Comic Book World. But at any rate, I thought that was a pretty good Batman story.
Mm-hmm. Another tragedy that befell Batman specifically came in the Nightfall story, the breaking of the Batman. And in the events leading up to this story, the criminal mastermind Bane has set loose all of the criminals in Arkham, and Batman sets off to round up all these criminals, and he works pretty much around the clock trying to get all these villains back where they belong. And he runs at it for months, I think.
I don't know about months, but it was a long time. Mm-hmm. Long enough that, why didn't he get on the horn and get the Justice League to help out a little bit? I mean, was it pride?
I couldn't say. I think he does not call the League in for Gotham business, I think is one of his rules.
Well, maybe sometimes you might want to.
Well, he spends weeks, possibly months, trying to round up these criminals, and he actually gets sick at this time. He gets the flu, which makes him even weaker. And then, towards the end, he's just about has all the criminals rounded up. He gets back to the cave, and he's ready to for Alfred to help him back to his bed and plop into bed and sleep for several hours. But he's met with a horrible surprise. Bane has infiltrated Wayne Manor and the Batcave. He's subdued Alfred, and he is here to finish his work. And disposing of the Batman so that he can take over Gotham's criminal empire.
Of all the people that have gone out after Batman, this is the first one that took this well thought through of a plan. I mean, he has just worn Bats down. I mean, let's face it, it's a pretty smart strategy.
Yep. Batman comes at him. He's got nothing almost. I mean,
He's shot. He's
yeah,
done.
Bane takes him down rather easily. I mean, pretty much the whole issue here is Bane throwing him around like a rag doll all over Wayne Manor. And in the very last panel, Bane says that he's not going to kill him because that would only end his suffering. Instead, he is going to break him. And he breaks Batman's back, and he assumes the criminal empire for a while. But, a series of events go into motion here. One with Jean-Paul Valley, Azrael becoming Batman, and Bruce Wayne going through intense physical therapy to regain his ability to walk and eventually taking back the mantle of Batman. And it's just one of the tragic events in Batman's career. Not to mention, years later, the death of Damian Wayne, the second Robin to be killed in the line of duty. And, just like Jason Todd, that one also doesn't stick. But still, I mean, it's marred in tragedy, and probably won't be the last for Batman's career.
Those Batman guys are a hardy breed.
Yep, absolutely. So there's a short summary of the tragic career of Batman. So let's see. Next up, I also want to talk about not just tragic events, but also tragic characters. And one of them for me is one a lot of people probably don't think of, and that is Lex Luthor. Now, I want to explain this. There's the villains that are like super villains, the ones that have some super tech or powers, and they're looking to knock over a bank or something like that. Then there's the crime bosses, the kingpins, the ones who are on the surface respected business owners, and they're always doing their work by proxy and are always able to get away with stuff because they're rich and they have good lawyers and that sort of thing. Lex Luthor is like a bit of both of those types of criminals, and you think about everything that he could do with his mind and his resources. I mean, he's got maybe more money than Bruce Wayne, I'm not sure, and he's got a brilliant mind. And what does he do? He wastes it fighting Superman and the other heroes because he can't stand to live in a world where an alien bests him at every turn. So he's always coming up with plans for revenge, concocting schemes to outdo Superman and the other heroes, and it's just a waste. Yep. I mean, it's so pointless.
If he only put that power toward good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but it's absolutely true.
It's a cliche.
But it's just so true in Lex's case. Another tragic character, which is one you probably have thought of before, and that is Dr. Harleen Quinzel, a.k.a. Harley Quinn. I mean, I know we don't want to linger on origin stories, but it's such a tragic one. I mean, she starts out as a respected psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum, and she tries to diagnose the Joker. And the Joker manipulates her into falling in love with him. And she eventually becomes his criminal sidekick or Girl Friday, whatever you want to call it. And she keeps coming back to him no matter what he does, no matter how much physical, mental, verbal abuse he gives her. She keeps coming back.
Well, he's her pumpkin.
Right. Puddin'.
Puddin'.
Puddin', yeah. And she just can't seem to break free for so long, but eventually she does. And with the help of her new lover, Poison Ivy, she is able to break free from the Joker and find some measure of happiness with Ivy.
Speaking of spoilers.
Yeah, and I say good for her. So there goes Harley Quinn. Next, I want to get into an event from Marvel Comics that is marred in like several different incidents. The first being it was the Civil War event. The first being one of the catalysts for Civil War, and that is what readers have come to know as the Stamford incident. A group of young heroes called the New Warriors have a reality TV show, and they're pretty low level heroes. They take on
one of their big guys is Speedball.
Right. They take on burglars and street level villains. So they get wind of this supervillain group that is holed up in a building in Stamford, Connecticut. And a lot of the heroes think that the villains are out of their weight class, but the producer of the show says this will be good for ratings. Let's do it.
So because they're on this reality TV show, they tackle something that is pretty much something they should leave alone.
Right. So they take on the villains, and Nitro, one of the villains with nuclear powers, runs, and he gets cornered near a school in Stamford, and having been cornered, he sets off his nuclear explosive capabilities. He kills 600 people in the explosion, which includes 60 school children and most of the New Warriors. And this event turns public opinion against superheroes, which leads to the Superhero Registration Act. And it was a huge event in Marvel Comics. It had Captain America on the Anti-Registration Act and Iron Man on the Registration Act, trying to get heroes to register as superhumans, and basically it gives them license to be vigilantes. And
if you didn't register, you had to stand down.
If you have powers, do you still have to register but not do anything? Was that an option?
I don't remember, but if you're going to use these powers in any way, you had to register.
Right. So that set off a lot of events in the Marvel Civil War, and one of the big events was the two factions are fighting each other, and all of a sudden Thor appears out of nowhere, and Thor's been gone for a while. I think
he was doing Asgard stuff.
Right.
Who knows?
And nobody knows what side he's on. But when it becomes apparent that he is on the side of the registered heroes, the anti-registration heroes come after him, mainly a hero named Black Goliath. And Thor summons a lightning bolt and shoots it at Black Goliath, and it goes straight through his chest. Now, it's revealed later that this Thor was actually a robot clone developed by Tony Stark. And it pretty much ended the fight, and they recovered his body, and they couldn't even shrink Black Goliath down to regular size for his funeral.
At his 25-foot height, something like that.
And Tony Stark bought up all of the funeral plots to make sure that he got a proper burial. The only small consolation was that his family never had to pay for anything, and hopefully Tony made sure they never want it for anything.
Well, that is a small consolation.
Yeah, so that was just one of the tragic incidents in the Civil War, and I think you have one from the conclusion of the Civil War.
Well, at the end of the Civil War, Captain America, one of my favorite guys, realized that this wasn't going anywhere. This was not going to end well. That the anti-registration guys could not win this. That it was just going to continue to be bad for everybody. So he surrendered to S.H.I.E.L.D. He gave himself up. And then orders from the Red Skull went to Crossbones, and Crossbones sniped at Captain America on the steps of the headquarters. And Sharon Carter, Agent 16, I think, who the Red Skull had brainwashed, she actually murdered Cap or assassinated him right there on the steps. So, to me, that you know, being a big Captain America fan, that was a big deal. Then they did a one-shot called Civil War: The Confession. Now, they did it in reverse order, but I'm going to explain it the way that it happened. So, once Cap is arrested, he and Tony have a conversation, and Cap explains to Tony, we've both been fighting for what we believe in, but Tony sold out and worked with their enemies to win. And then Cap looked at Tony and says, was it worth it? And then you go to the first part of the story, which has Tony in his Iron Man, I think he was in his Iron Man costume, he's sitting next to Cap's body on a slab in the morgue, and he's talking to him. And I guess it's best if I just read you what he said. And Tony said, to do what I needed to do to win this quickly, I knew that meant you and I would probably never speak again, or be friends again, or partners again. I told myself I was okay with it because I knew I was right, and I knew I was saving lives. I was. It was the right thing to do. And I was willing to get in bed with people we despise to get this done. And I knew the world favors the underdog, and that I would be the bad guy. I knew this, and I said it was okay with it. And even though I said I was willing to go all the way with it, I wasn't. And I know this because the worst has happened. The thing I can't live with has happened. And for all our back and forth, and all the things we've said and done to each other, for all the hard questions I've had to ask and terrible lies I've had to tell, there's one thing that I'll never be able to tell anyone now. Not my friends, or my co-workers, or my president. The one thing I should have told you, but now I can't. It wasn't worth it. Now, that, when I first read it, and for that matter to a small degree just now, that sends shivers down my spine. I mean, what a tragic ending to one of the greatest heroes in Marvel Comics. Of course, it wasn't really the ending, but we'll go there. But yeah, that to me was a big tragedy.
Mm-hmm. So some of our friends in comic book world and Jody Hickerson, they came up with a bit of a list themselves, didn't they?
Of course. Mm-hmm. These guys are solid.
Mm-hmm.
So Jody brought up the death of Gwen Stacy that you talked about. Mm-hmm. He also said that the death of Jean Grey at the end of the Phoenix Saga was a terrible tragedy. And I talked about the death of Elektra. He brought that up. He also mentioned the death of Kyle Rayner's girlfriend, Alex DeWitt. Mm-hmm. This girl was murdered and shoved into a refrigerator.
Yep, I remember.
And one that I probably would have used in my list, except Jody did, was Kraven's suicide at the end of Kraven's Last Hunt. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was one of the best Spider-Man stories ever. And then Jacob, the store manager over at Comic Book World, he mentioned Saga, and I'll quote Jacob, "It definitely has many contenders for a most tragic characters list. I have only read the first trade paperback of Saga, and it's a book that the guys over at Comic Book World recommended I get into, so I've been doing it. And I'm glad he didn't spoil anything for me, because that would have been a tragedy. But yeah, I look forward to reading it. He also brought up Spider-Man. He mentioned Parker's death, Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy. He also mentioned a point that you didn't bring up, was that he gave up his marriage to save Aunt May. Now, I've not read that story, so I'm not sure what that's all about, but it definitely sounds bad. And he brought up the Superior Spider-Man storyline. But finally, he talks about Parker's death in the Ultimate Universe, in Ultimate Spider-Man. And he sent a link to a page that EMoney's popping up right now. And I'll tell you, when I read this page, I guess I'm just too emotional. I got choked up again. I mean, I'm just a big crybaby. Jeez. But that's what we have from our brain trust.
All right, so what are some of your biggest tragedies in comic books? What did we fail to mention? And keep in mind, there was a really long list of stuff. I mean,
it just went on and on.
Yeah, I mean, we came up with a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean that we didn't think of it or forgot about it. I mean, we just don't have enough time on this show to mention every tragedy in comic books. We'd be here all day. So send us some of your favorites in the comments section. All right, so what do you say we head back up to the garage? And Thor's probably even hungrier than before. So let's.
That ate my hand.
Let's get him some treats.
Man.
All right, it's time for our Stump the Old Man segment of the show. We have our patented Thor-related question number 2, but let's start off things with the first one here. Ready, impartial judge? Ready to fight the contestants?
Go ahead, what we got?
All right, number 1. What Teen Titan did Black Adam kill during the World War III storyline following the destruction of the nation of Bialya?
I don't remember much of that story at all. I only remember one Titan dying, but I don't think it's right. But I'm going to throw Jericho out there.
That is incorrect. The Teen Titan was Terra.
Oh, yeah.
Terra with the ability to control, Earth. Her and just about every superhero available went to confront Black Adam after the destruction of Bialya to end his run of terror throughout the Earth. And Terra got a little overzealous, overconfident, and she took Black Adam on head on and ended up getting punched through the chest.
Black Adam is a Superman level villain, so that was dumb.
Yeah, 10 times scarier. All right, so 0 for 1. Number 2, our Thor-related question here. What part of the Mighty Thor's classic look is mostly abandoned in the MCU version of Thor?
Well, I remember he had these blue circles. I used to call them buttons, but they were ginormous. But I don't think that's it. I mean, I don't remember the movie guy wearing a helmet.
Okay, that is correct. The helmet is mostly abandoned in the movie version. You see him in the very first scene. You see Thor when he's doing his coronation at Asgard. He's wearing the helmet, but then he takes it off and you never see it again. You see a sort of similar looking helmet during his battle with Hulk in Thor Ragnarok. But other than that, he does not wear a helmet.
Well, Hemsworth's too good looking to have to wear a stupid helmet.
Right. All right, so 1 for 2. Here comes number 3. Having watched the MCU films, we all know Thanos' adopted daughters, Nebula and Gamora, but who was Thanos' brother?
See, you started out with the movie thing, so I thought we were going to stay with the movie thing. But let's face it, that character is not in any movie.
Not yet.
So, I mean, I know that Thanos was an Eternal. So I'm guessing his brother is an Eternal, so we'll probably see him in the Eternals. And I know you're not going to give it to me if I just say he's an Eternal. So I'm going to not have a good week this week. I don't know.
All right. The correct answer was Star Fox, a.k.a. Arrows of Titan.
And he's an Eternal, right?
A member of the Eternals. He went a different direction than his brother, becoming an adventurer and a bit of a womanizer over Thanos, conquering and, Mad Titan vibe. So
he was also pretty good looking too. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Curious to see who plays him.
Mm-hmm. All right, so 1 for 3 this week. The old man is stumped.
Can't win them all.
All right, comic lovers, so that about does it for this episode. But before we go, let's get into a little bit about what we're going to be doing next week. Hey, here we go. All right, so next week, there's been a lot of casting decisions made that throughout comic book movies that some have been good.
Oh, I mean, Hemsworth as Thor.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Chris Evans as Captain America. Hugh Jackman is always going to be my Wolverine. And my favorite is Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't have quite that much money. And he's not as smart, but
Yeah.
other than that.
I would also throw in Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Others have been okay, and then there are those other ones out there where you think, what the hell were they thinking? Case in point, just springs to mind, Jesse Eisenberg. Like, why did you do that?
Horrible casting. Great actor,
Mm-hmm.
but that ain't my Lex Luthor, nor will he ever be Lex Luthor.
So next week, we are going to be doing our dream casting decisions. Both for, hey, do you want something? Did you want something?
Of course he
I think he wanted something.
You're too slow.
Our dream casting decisions, both for movies that have already been out and the way we would have liked to have seen it cast, and for movies that have yet to come. And see what you guys think. And also, we want to put the feelers out to our dream team.
Oh, got Jody, Jacob, and John. I just realized Stan Lee would be proud of us.
Yep, JJJ.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna consult our people and get back to you guys next week. So remember, happy Turkey Day this week, and if you're going to be deep frying your turkey for the first time this year, it has to defrost first, okay? Yeah. If you don't defrost your turkey and put it in the deep fryer, that's how turkeys explode.
Right.
Yeah. So make sure you defrost first. Ow! Jeez. Thor just those teeth.
He's feisty.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
All right. We'll see you kids next week. Excelsior.
True believers don't eat too much.
That goes week 2.